Welcome to Zentangle Project Pack number 26. This is day 2. My name is Rick.
Hi, I'm Maria.
And we are starting this series, each with a quote. And my quote for this one comes from Alexander Solzhenitsyn, and it is as follows. The fewer limitations the artist imposes on his work, the less chance he has for artistic success. So the converse of that is, I'm going to guess that the more limitations, the more success, because it really calls you to be creative and use what you have within the limits that you have. And
it reminds me of the story of Dilip up in the mountains.
Right.
Tell that story.
Okay, well, we had a CZT who we were doing these challenges, and another CZT was doing these online challenges, and it had to do with color. And one of our CZTs, or tanglers, was in the mountains of India, and he didn't have any paper, any pens, or anything. He had his camera, and he went to like a sandy spot and put 4 corners and the border and the string. And then he went and found like little green leaves or little purple petals or little bits of grass.
Pebbles.
And filled each section in with that. And it was very, very cool.
It had such an impression on people of the limitations made him. He never would have done this. He would have done it on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And it was just so beautiful and a great story to go
Absolutely.
Go with it.
So we're going with that and really taking how to work with all of these tools. And the tools that we have here for today, the Micron 03, we have a brush, we have 3 colors of these koi coloring brush pens, and we've got our ever-present pencil and tortillon, and we're working on one of our new, and water, and we're working on one of our new zendala pattern tiles.
Yeah, pre-strung.
Pre-strung. So this is the one I'm using, and I'm just taking a moment here to appreciate the paper, appreciate this time, and really focus on this beautiful potential that we have. And I'm going to start with my 03. I'm sort of really enjoying this pen. It's a little bit wider than the 01. So using the 03, I am going to go in and restate all of the string lines here.
So this is interesting because we almost never do this.
Exactly.
Because we say don't do that because it'll make your thing look more like a coloring book.
Right.
But because of what Rick is going to do with it, it works well with his ideas.
And you'll see what I'm doing is I'm using the natural curve of how my hand would curve. So I'm pivoting on my heel, or the heel of my palm, and just going over all of these and just really enjoying the process.
Now, this in itself is a meditation.
Yeah.
You should try to appreciate every aspect of what you're doing, no matter how long it takes or how trivial it seems. It's part of your meditation.
Right, and it's like the analogy we use of tangling is like dancing. Like the object of a dance is not to finish it.
Or to get to the other side.
Or to get to the other side of the room or something like that.
First.
Right. Or finish first. Exactly.
Oh, God, that's funny.
And so I'm now also doing the outside, the border, if you will.
This is a pretty pre-strung.
Yeah,
in itself, nice. It would be a neat fragment.
Well, and beautiful stained glass, too.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to take these square ones.
Or square-ish.
Square-ish, or 4-sided sections, and I want to work with turn them into 2 3-sided sections. So you can see the ones that I'm dividing there. And then, of no great surprise to everyone, perhaps, we're going to do in all of the triangular sections, or all of the 3-sided sections, going to do paradox, and those 4-sided sections that I'm pointing out, we're not going to tangle. We're just going to leave those empty. So paradox, and we'll go through a whole one here. You start from the corner, and then you go down to the other side, sort of like a takeoff, and then you land abruptly on the other side there. So it's sort of taking off and then tapering away a bit. And you'll see now we've got a triangle shape, slightly smaller, inside the previous one. And we're just going to rinse and repeat this until we run out of space.
Until the cows come home.
Until the cows go, and they may come home before we're done. So again, we want you to watch through the entire, or don't get ahead of us, because we do some fun stuff on the way. And you'll see that as I do it, my lines end up getting pretty straight. You know, I follow the curve when I'm close to it, and then eventually, you'll see I'm right down to straight lines.
Subtle curve.
Yeah. And the whole point of, or the reason we named paradox, is that you'll see that by drawing these straight lines, we're gradually creating this curve is evolving, or is showing up.
It's
now,
actually a very elegant.
I'm going to interrupt here. You'll see, like, if you get interrupted, just leave part of a line, so when you come back to it, you know where you were.
That's it. That's like a perfect suggestion, because not that it would make that much of a difference,
wouldn't notice, but yeah.
it makes it easy where you say, "Oh, where was I? Where was I?" So this curve that it creates is a very elegant curve. Almost, it must be phi or something. It's just so beautiful.
Well, it starts out, it's like maybe it's logarithmic or parabolic, but it's got this, it's not just a simple curve.
It's got some letters after its name.
Yeah. And you'll notice that the entire thing that I did, now this is important. We're going to do this one next to it, and you can see where all the lines came together on that first one. Well, I'm going to start at that same point, so we're effectively mirroring the one next to it.
So you're going in the you're going clockwise as opposed to counter.
We're going in the other rotation. And I sort of play with this curve, and when I come down, I sort of like to end up where that other line was. And then continuing around, you'll see I'm turning the tile every time, except maybe that last one, even then, because that way all of the character of all of the lines are the same. So you'll see I'm starting again where all those lines came together on the one next to it. And what's really neat is that you can see where those two came together in the one that we just did. You can't really tell where that dividing line was. And you'll see that here, I think. You've got these fan shapes, right? You got that fan shape and that fan shape, and we call those meta patterns. So it's like a pattern that comes together when two fragments are side by side. And you can think of this as actually like reticula and fragment. So each of those three-sided shapes is a reticula, and we're putting in a fragment of paradox. and we're reflecting it each time.
So be aware that you have to leave those four-sided, the small four-sided shape,
right,
with nothing in them.
Yeah. And so we're going to fill all of these, and we'll be jumping ahead just so, because we're covering a lot of acreage here with a lot of lines. So give yourself time for this. There's no rush. And I think you're going to be pleased with the result and just the focus that you go into or you experience by doing this one stroke at a time. Very relaxed. Maybe that last line I do it without turning. But you can see how it's coming together, and just leaving that little square shape open there just gives a nice little window. And you'll see we've pretty much filled up this side, and this is where it's important not to jump ahead to the other side, because we're going to do something different on that side. So one side is done with each one reflecting each other, each triangle shape. In this side, we're going to do it with each one of them the same way. So we're going to start just like we did before, from the end to the end. I mean, starting at where the ends all come together at one spot. So far we're not doing anything different. Sort of playing with meeting that. So there's that section up there. But now what's different is, instead of starting where the lines all came together in the one next to it, we're going to start where they are separate. So on this side, we're going to do all of them exactly the same. We're not going to reflect them. We're just going to repeat them. And the idea behind this is the meta pattern that results from that is not that fan shape, but it's a different shape. So you can see that sort of like twisted column there, or somebody like wringing out a dish towel. So it's very different from that, even though we did the same tangle. So again, on all of the other three-sided shapes on this side of the zendala, we're going to start where the lines were further apart. And another neat thing about this is that as you do this, all of the original lines that we divided up those sections with to create those three-sided shapes, they're just disappearing because they become part of the pattern. And you can see those twisted little different meta patterns forming now. So let's finish up that last little part there. So here I made a so-called mistake. Instead of starting at the wide section, I started at the narrow section. And I think right about here I realized that it was like, wait, oops. But we're going to work with this. Yeah, here's where I figured it out. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to the way that we would have been going. And I just reversed course. And you'll see how we take advantage of this. And I think, sometimes, like with that quote from Solzhenitsyn, the limitations could be what we're calling like an oops or
A gift.
A gift, exactly. So like, okay, now I'm faced with something that I didn't plan. It's a further limitation. What can I do with that?
Well, you certainly can't find it.
Right? You could look for it, but we're going to take advantage of that and really use it later on. So you can see like the meta patterns at the top and the meta patterns at the bottom are different. Okay, so now it's coloring time. So there are two different color sets, and this is the color set that I have. And the colors were so vibrant that I wanted to tone it down a little bit. And the way I'm going to do that, and watch me because I changed my mind throughout this, is I just touched the pen. I got this nice, like, very light pastel-y shape. I'm just pulling a little ink off the pen. It's like, okay, I can work with that. So let's flip that over. Because even with the water, sort of like toned down the brilliance of the ink, which I want to go in and showcase, if you will, the different meta patterns that are in there. So I'm going to just take those three colors, and because there's three colors and because there's three sides, I can figure out another, like, fun puzzle that I set for myself is I want to make it so none of the same colors butt up against the other colors. So this is going pretty good. Nice sort of light pastel-y. I'm happy with this. So we're going to go through all of the colors. And one neat thing about these koi pens is you can layer it. So you can go on top of it and make the color a little bit more intense. And so I'm just sort of, what I'm doing here is trying to restore the ink that I sucked out with the
water.
With the water. So I'm learning as I'm going because I had done a practice with this and it works the first time with a color.
Yeah.
Maybe the second time. But I'm going with it still. And so I'm doing this live and I'm recording. Well, I mean, I'm recording using the brush and trying to, what can I do with these materials that like just make it very, very pastel, if that's the right word. So far so good. Try the blue. And it works there too.
It's subtle.
And what I'm noticing is the pen is not refreshing itself as quickly as I was expecting. Because I'm really sort of taking all the pigment out of it with that water. So now I'm using the pen. So I've got the idea that, when the pen has less water, or when the pen has has less pigment, it doesn't it's thinned out by the water. So now I'm doing the blue, and there's almost nothing left in the blue. So I'm trying to spread it around with the brush. Like, this isn't going to work for the rest of the tile. So now I'm thinking, okay, elegance of limitations. What am I going to do with this? So now I've shifted my tack. I'm taking the pen itself and just dipping it in the water and then using the pen instead of the brush to apply the color. And that worked out really good for the rest of this. And I'm going with the direction of the pen strokes because for some reason the red or the pink one tended to like smush the ink a little bit. So
is that a technical term?
Yeah.
Smush.
Smush. So I'm just working with those shapes and making it its own little meditation here, and using that square on the side just as a way to make sure I've got the density of the color that I like. So you may be like, oh, I like the vibrant, super saturated colors, and each one of us are going to come up with a different idea. And you may decide not even to put color on. So don't feel that, okay, I got to do everything the exact same way. But it's just been really fun on this project pack to use materials that I would not have picked off the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, here's something. How do you make it work for you in a way that you like it? And have a good time doing it and come up with something that's really pleasing. And I think that was, the whole elegance of working with a string, working with a set of materials. So now I'm on a roll. And this is what I use for the rest of it. So now I'm working on those other shapes.
The shapes themselves were kind of fun to color, right? Because the shape of the point works in that, with that direction. And it's kind of a neat coincidence.
And I'm able to really control the density of the color this way.
Well, I like that the purple's coming out a little bit more vibrant.
Yeah.
And a little bit, but not as colorful as we usually do.
I'm able to, you're able to control it. You can see I just get it to where okay, that's the shade I want. And it's interesting because each color has its own characteristic, and by using your tools, you learn how the tools work. Each has its own personality.
Well, for me as an artist, I'm glad that they don't come out good. Don't come out exactly the same. Each blue thing, it's almost like stained glass. You want it to have different levels of pigment in there so that it looks like it's done by hand. You don't want it to be look like it's done by AI or a machine of some sort. You want that interaction of artist and color, artist and tools. Don't ever be afraid to have one section look a little bit different, because we are artists. We have to go with our emotions. So
you can see I'm using that instead of shading, which I would have normally used graphite there. I'm using the slightly darker and overlaying the colors to shade where the lines come together.
I like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? And just figuring, what am I going to do with those empty diamond-shaped areas? Just putting a little bit of graphite in the corners, the acute corners, and then just bringing it in towards the middle, just to give a little something. Using the tortillon on its side, and you can really blend it, and very little pressure. It doesn't take much pressure at all.
Beautiful. Nice. Truly a Ricky tile. Beautiful.
Going back to the roots of using so I'm going to put my chop right over that oops area. I'm going to just work with that. So I'm putting the circle of what I would put my chop in. And then we do have a Jelly Roll 10. And just going to go in there and fill the circle with the Jelly Roll.
You're cheating.
Right? Let it dry. Yeah, it's dry. And then goes the chop. And I think it's really important that everybody sign their work with that little, whatever symbol you happen to be using at the time, to like, yeah, this is mine, I did this. And then once your chop is down,
you're ready to be amazed.
Absolutely enjoy that, appreciate it, and sign it.
Looks like I got a 2-year-old playing on the other side.
So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you have a really great time exploring this and seeing where this, what this inspires for you.
It's beautiful.
And we look forward to seeing what you created.
See you later.
Bye for now.